We do this same time every Friday, fellas. How y'all doing? And Darko Tower clients are coming today, so the back end back there, we're going to be doing the test before it goes out. So you don't need to be back there. Give those guys some area to do what it is they're going to be doing. I don't know yet how many clients. I think it's just going to be a few, but we'll get that thing tested out, and then it'll be a tear down and a load out, and it's going to be out there for about 3 months. We hot and heavy with Indonesia right now. Pertamina, the job that we built all the jacks for, is going to, looks like, roll out at the end of July. We're here in 3 to 6 months there, and I guess 3 being the best case and 6 being the worst case. But there's going to be quite a few guys heading over there. It's going to kind of make us have to shuffle and scuffle over here to cover what we need to cover offshore and some other jobs. So might be asking for some candidates that want to do offshore work. We threw a couple of new names in there recently, so get with your supervisor, make sure everything's okay, and then we'll send your name up to Houston and start running you through the process. I put on the sign-in sheet this morning, thinking, planning, and stopping. And that's 3 things that should come up all day long. They don't necessarily go in any particular order, but we wind up having to do all of the 3 all day long. And I've told this story before, but it's been a while. Exxon's on the leading edge of what a company requires of you, and they kind of filter down. But the BPs and the Chevrons and the Exxons, they really try and maintain a safe culture when you're doing work for them. I know we can talk about things that maybe don't seem that way, but overall, these companies, they have 250,000 people a year working for them, try to maintain a safe environment. There was an Exxon job, and they required replacing some grating, and they called the company out, and the company knew they were under the gun. They're going to watch everything we do out there. They understood that some pieces of grating were going to be removed temporarily, but there would always be somebody down there to watch. And they got started doing the jobs. They had all the tools and equipment checked out. The guys had their right gloves. They had all their ducks in a row. JSA in place. They moved a piece of grating out of the way. They had some nice hooks that were made to keep their fingers out of the grating. They had barricade tape up everywhere. They went and grabbed another piece of grating, a full sheet, and they pulled it into place. The guy went to move these, or grab the stud gun. I didn't go shoot the grating back in, and the other guy thought he would pull the grating into place because it was lifted up a little bit, and he pulled on it, and he pulled it where it slid off of the beam, and he had the hook in his hand, and he rode it down to the bottom. And fortunately, there was a dive boat there. This guy was still attached to the hook because it's hard to let go of something when your momentum's got you. Anybody that's ever ridden dirt bikes knows that. So he hit the water, and the guy had just come out of the water on the back end of the boat and jumped in the water and got him. Probably a month and a half of planning to do a job. Probably purchase all kind of new equipment to go out there and make themselves shine. And one guy made a bad call. I think I can move this on my own. In spite of as many times as they discussed how it was going to be done, and I'm sure in discussing it, it was never said that I think one person can get the grating into place on their own. As a matter of fact, I would assume the other guy said, I'm going to go grab the stud gun, I'll be right back. There's occasions when you've got a plan in place and something looks just not right to you. Something needs to change. Something's not going to work the way I planned it to. And you got to stop. I know what stopping means in an organization like this. Time. You're not doing anything when you stop, right? If you're not doing anything and you stop for a good reason, it's worth stopping for. And the thing I want to tell you about it is, in spite of the planning that you do, and in spite of thinking how well it's going to go, you always have to know in the back of your mind that something can happen to you. Got another one. Company was called out, loose grading on a platform, and anybody that's ever been offshore, a lot of handrails and grading, handrails particularly, are socketed, so they'll move a little bit. Kind of scary when you walk up to something 60 feet in the air and it moves. They had some bad grading and handrail. The company that went out to look at the handrail and the grading had made their own tool to hook into grading, and it was a piece of pipe to be able to see if the grading was tight or not. God knew exactly what he was there to do. Knew exactly how to do it. Had all of his ducks in a row, hit a piece of grading with that pipe and pulled up too hard on it, went over the side with the grading. The grading hit the water first, and then he hit the grading and it knocked him out. Fortunately, there was a boat right there. Fortunately, they got him out of the water. Some of our best plans, fellas, some of the things that we spend months on, wind up being stopped because if we proceed, something's going to happen to us. We have to be smart enough to understand, we have to be proactive enough to understand that when it's time to do it, we need to do it. Been a few occasions on the yard recently where we spend a lot of time talking about what we've seen some people do, and it's not really matching up to what we want people to be doing. And it's kind of slow right now. We don't have a whole lot of activity, and it's a good time for you to take the opportunity to be a little more proactive about what's going on, about putting the cones out when we're offloading the truck, about making sure we're putting up barricade tape when we need to keep somebody away, about taking the time to go pick up the tools when you finish with them or move the piece of board out of the way so somebody doesn't trip on it. And again, I'm in here reinforcing. I'm not saying we're doing a bad job. I'm just saying we might be able to seize the opportunity right now to make a noticeable improvement. And that's what it's all about. So continue to look not just at what you're doing, at what others are doing. And if we need to tighten it up, take the opportunity to do that, fellas. In most cases, if somebody would have stopped the guy from pulling on the grading by himself, I'm sure he would appreciate it. In most cases, when you stop somebody and tell them you need to put your seatbelt on while you're riding the forklift, they appreciate it. So continue to make that engagement, fellas. The work's going to pick back up. The shop's going to get crowded. We're going to go back to what we're used to. But take the opportunity right now when we have a little bit of time to tighten up some of the things that we've been looking at and saying somebody should do something with that and make that somebody you. What y'all got? For those of you that don't know, the crane was in what you would call a failure mode. The boom could have fallen, and there was nothing could be done about it. Here we go, planning. Initially talked about tracking it somewhere, and then thinking about it, tracking it is probably going to make the matter a little bit worse. We tracked our crane over there, and we hooked up about 3/4 of the way up the boom, and we wound up. We tried to get it to move on its own and it wouldn't. We wound up having to cut the cable, so we went ahead and we pinned off the equalizer on it and we cut the cables, and it was a fine job. And that was a good topic to bring up, Scooter, but let me ask you something. What's safety look like next door to us? I didn't see one guy with safety glasses on next door, fellas. None. It's good to understand. Sometimes it's a pain in the behind, but you understand and you can see the difference. And if you want to and you get a little bit of time, just go stand on the property line and watch. They were taking down the scaffolding around the boat, continuously dropping pieces right next to somebody. It's good to know you somewhere, man, where you're not going to be compromised, you're not going to be jeopardized. And I don't understand how somebody was getting in that crane and operating it. I don't understand how you can talk somebody into that. We've got that old American back there that we rebuilt, and fellas, we try to take care of our cranes. We've got some old cherry pickers, but we try and take care of our equipment. Patrick and those guys are always working on our equipment. So you go over there, or you stand at that fence and you look at what the difference is, you want to be standing right where you are today, fellas, so be proud of that. We spend a lot of money administratively. We spend a lot of money on PPE, trying to make sure that we got a